To the particular passage, which I find to be toxic and very misleading. So, quote, "We each have a God-given fear that keeps us from doing foolish, dangerous things. We do not walk on the edge of high cliffs. We stand back from moving equipment. We wear protective goggles. We drive carefully, and we stay out of the lion's cage. This fear, while protecting us, does not keep us from obeying God or performing our God-given duties." End quote. So I imagine many listeners would hear that statement and not have any issue with it. It'll just sound normal. It'll sound like common sense. Well, yeah, of course. Sometimes fear is good because it protects us from dangerous things. It appears that is the common view on fear, and as I've explained before, that view is incorrect. So, to help you realize that, it takes just a little walking through or a little analysis of what is being said. So, let's take, for example, the example this author gave of driving carefully. Okay, so imagine you're in your car right now and you're driving down the road, and it's a two-way road. You have cars passing by you on your left, and when you both pass by each other, say at 50 miles an hour, and you are only, say, a few feet between your vehicles when you pass each other, that's potentially dangerous, right? I mean, if one of you were to uh, get distracted or swerve in the direction of the other vehicle, possibly have an accident, right? And possibly die, right? So that's potentially dangerous, right? So, does that mean that you need to be afraid of every passing car on the road in order to not drive into that car? Is it really fear that is keeping you in your lane? Because if it's only fear doing it, then shouldn't you actually feel fear every single time another car is approaching? Say you're on some beautiful country road, just can see for miles, all around, maybe beautiful mountains and whatnot. And then, you see down in the distance, there's a car coming down this desolate road. And, in a minute or so, you're going to be passing each other. Do you need to be overcome by fear that entire time as that car approaches just to stay in your lane? No. I hope that answer is obvious to you. No. No, you do not need fear to stay in your lane. Do you need fear to not put your hand into a campfire? Say you're at a campsite with some friends and you're roasting some marshmallows or whatever. Do you need fear to be in your mind constantly to remind you to not put your hand in the fire? No. No, you do not need fear. If that was the case, who could sit around a campfire and share jokes with one another, right? It'd be impossible because everybody would be gripped in fear the whole time, right? To stay safe from that dangerous fire, which is just, inches in front of them. So I hope you might start questioning this so-called, common wisdom. Hope this at least opens your mind to the possibility that fear isn't actually necessary in any scenario. And as I've talked about in previous audios, this seems hard to believe. I understand, right? Not because of what I'm saying doesn't make sense. What I'm saying is very straightforward, right? It does make sense. It's people don't have an issue with me pointing out that you don't need fear to like not walk off a cliff or not put your hand in a fire. People will follow me there, but they can't accept the possibility that fear is completely bad because it goes against what they've been taught. It goes against their indoctrination. It goes against these so-called authority figures or authoritative books that tell them that fear serves this, beneficial evolutionary purpose. And if our ancestors didn't have fear of that saber-toothed tiger, they would have just walked right up to the saber-toothed tiger and, tried to pat the animal on the head, right? Because it's only fear that allows you to make an evaluation of whether something is dangerous or not. That's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous to think that you cannot make a evaluation of something that is dangerous, right? It's like if you see ice on the ground in front of you and you recognize, if you step on that ice, you might slip and fall, right? That's just a rational observation and evaluation. When you're out driving a car, you recognize, well, if I don't pay attention and I swerve into the other lane, I might be in an accident, right? That's just a rational thought process. That's just using basic intelligence. You don't need fear involved. It's a huge lie that fear is sometimes beneficial. Yes, fear can happen simultaneously with something that is actually dangerous, but the fear itself does not actually serve you any benefit in dealing with whatever that danger is. If you do encounter a dangerous animal, fear is not going to help you in that situation. It's going to lower your awareness. It's going to lower your critical thinking. It's not the fight or flight response. That's a physiological crisis response in the body, not an emotion. So you see, everything that is given to fear as an excuse, given to fear as like these are exceptions to the rule, right? Because this article does go on to talk about all these verses in the Bible that actually are against fear and how Jesus was against fear and etc. But they put the wedge in the door. They made you believe that there's an exception to the rule that fear is actually demonic, sabotage of your life. And as long as you believe there's an exception to the rule, you're going to let it keep coming in, right? Because anytime it arises, well, maybe this is the exception. Maybe this is the time it's helping me. Maybe this is fight or flight, right? So it's a huge deception. Fear is pure sabotage, zero benefit. And if you just think carefully, you might realize the same. Thanks for listening.